One of the weirdest battle lines that is existing right now is on the fringes of Sydney, and it is about whether or not the Warragamba Dam should be raised by another 14 metres. Now, there are local Indigenous tribes, local community leaders, and there's even some dispute that's making its way into the New South Wales Upper House about whether or not this dam should be lifted, should be extended. In fact, an inquiry has just been announced today. Mark Latham, our mate, helped make that happen as well, when the Greens voted together with One Nation to actually look into this. The establishment of the inquiry comes after months of controversy surrounding the rising of the wall, with a leaked draft report suggesting the government had suggested up to 1,300 hectares of World Heritage listed bushland could be permanently damaged by floodwaters, i.e. more water that heads into the dam. But let's be straight up and down here. There are predictions, if everyone is correct and the ABS is right, that we're heading towards eventually 30, 40 million people in Australia. 8 million of them are going to be living in the city of Sydney. The water source for the biggest city in the country is Warragamba Dam. Now, fingers crossed it'll rain sometime soon, so it'll start moving its way back up. But more people equals more water, which means you either need more dams or bigger dams. What's wrong with the logic there, Craig?
Well, Paul, Warragamba Dam was actually first planned back in the 1940s when Australia's after the Second World War, when Australia's population was about 1.5 million. Now we're about at punching 5.5 and going higher. So it's simple. If we're going to have this population growth, you've got to build more dams. It's as simple as that. Of course, the alternative is to build a nuclear power station and a desalination plant, but the Greens won't want that either. The reality is, Paul, it's simple. More people, we need more dams.
Yeah, it's this thing, Nicholas, where I know these are sort of the juggles, as Melbourne is going to fast become actually the most populous city in the country in the next 10 years. Clearly, water resources are always what matter. But here's the thing. While obviously we want people to be more efficient, that's great. That's for the existing water resources that we have. But when population increases, even with greater efficiency, we need to have more water. So I get it. I understand that there needs to be solutions found here, but at some point in time you have to choose modernity over everything else. And modernity in the city of Sydney means bigger dams to hold more water because more people will live there.
Yep, hooray. I completely agree with you on this one. And what's more, I mean, Sydney needs more water. That's a simple fact. Craig's right, you're right. The human beings need water. And that's why the position of One Nation and the former Green is so puzzling. I mean, I always like to look at things, get to the evidence, look at it on the facts, weigh it all up, but pretty much when you see that a One Nation MP and a former Green are supporting or opposed to something, you know the absolute opposite case must be the way to go. And so it is here. They need to lift the damn wall, build the dam, give people water.
That's just the beginning. You need to raise the level.
Hallelujah.
You need to raise the level or the size of the wall, but you need to build new dams. And for heaven's sake, we have been talking, many of us, about the need to bring water from the north of Queensland down in line canals down the east coast and bring water, from my point of view, the scheme I've looked at, into the Darling. To let water go all the way down to Victoria and across to South Australia.
Steady on there, sister. That's dangerous talk.
I look at the amount of money that is squandered in spending on subsidies for wind power and solar power, and a small portion of that amount of money to go towards the annual cost of building that system and bringing it down would be just so much better investment. And surely to goodness, this is a government who has come in. It came in on the platform of having tax cuts, which they've got to get through. But the big project that could capture everybody's imagination is a big water project. So heightening the dam wall is just a beginning. We need more dams and we need a proper water plan to drought-proof so much of our state and of Queensland.
I tell you what, when you start moving water across... Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, when you start moving water across mountain ranges, Bronwyn, in this country, you get some pretty strong political pushback. I can remember going with John Brumby when he was Premier of Victoria up into northern Victoria, and the Labor government at the time had a plan to try and pipe some water over the divide to the south, and we turned up at this town hall meeting, you know, in the Premier's vehicle, and there at the front they had an effigy of John Brumby, and they'd set it on fire, and it was burning out the front. I said, "Boss, I think this is going to be a pretty tough town hall meeting," and so it proved to be. Shipping water around the country like that is a very controversial thing to do.
Nicholas, we do it with gas.
Because
we do it with oil. There's no reason why we can't do it with water. It is more difficult to move water, I know that, but if you use lined open canals and you use existing aquifers for storage, yes, there's pumping involved, but you can bring that water, which is just wasted at the moment, and you don't have to take all of it. There's still enough for a flow into the ocean. You need about 17% of the outflow from the Burdekin to make it a real proposition. And you could do it for $20 billion. I mean, in this day and age, it is essential. We cannot go on bringing people to this country to become citizens in a land which desperately needs water to support them.